We promised a game of scale of 1 to 10 for some of the young quarterbacks. Here we are, the Texans. How much is C.J. Stroud, second overall pick in the draft, set up for success in Houston on a scale of 1 to 10?
Other than a 6. I mean, because I like D'Amico Ryans as the head coach, but I'm not sure about Bobby Slowick because he's not called plays yet, and he is their offensive coordinator. Previously, San Francisco passing game coordinator. So, I mean, I love that offensive system. I think it's one of the best in the NFL. We've seen it work with San Francisco. We've seen it work as an iteration in Los Angeles, in Green Bay, in Miami. You know, we'll see what happens with the Jets as Nathaniel Hackett's not there. So, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he is successful. But when you're talking about a rookie center, second-year left guard, Laramie Tunsil is one of the best left tackles in football. But, man, the wide receiving core, I don't know. Robert Woods I really like. Dalton Schultz I like too as a tight end. But I don't know, man. That's not necessarily the best situation for a young quarterback to go into, Mike. What do you think?
Short-term 3, long-term 7. I have faith in where they're going, the decisions they're making, but this is still a team that has been mired in dysfunction in recent years. And
yes,
I made this comment the other day, and look, I mean no disrespect to Cal McNair, but his only qualification to own a football team is his DNA matches Bob McNair's. That's it. There's no indication, no objective proof, no reason to believe that Cal McNair knows what he's doing, and there's been nothing that's happened the past few years that would provide clear evidence for us to say, oh, he knows what he's doing. So there's a lot to still be proven. I love the hire of D'Amico Ryans. The noise about Nick Caserio leaving subsided dramatically. We're now 2 weeks removed from the draft, so I assume that's not going to happen. They go forward. They try to build something, put the past behind them, and focus on trying to build something. So I say 3 for now, 7 over the long term, and that's maybe the best C.J. Stroud can hope for. How much is Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson set up for success, Myles Simmons, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Okay, if you're going to say the 4 now and then long term, I would say probably right now like a 3 or a 4, but long term around 7 because I like his coaching staff. I really like Shane Steichen and the way we have seen him. Look, there's probably not a person who has had a bigger effect on the 2020 draft class of quarterbacks than Shane Steichen. And he was the coach of Justin Herbert when he won Rookie of the Year in 2020. And he's been Jalen Hurts' coach the last 2 years. And both of those guys, I mean, one of them already has it. Both those guys really in line for large extensions this season. So I think, you know, when you're talking about Anthony Richardson, yeah, he's got Steichen, he's got Jim Bob Cooter. But you look at what he's got right now, offensive line should be all right. You know, you still got Ryan Kelly, you still got Quentin Nelson. But there's nobody that really scares you when it comes to the skill positions other than Jonathan Taylor. And if you can't really do much else than run the ball a little bit, then it's going to be tough as a quarterback to pass it. So I don't know how well he's going to do this year. They say they want to play him so that he can learn and develop. But long term, I think he's in a great situation because it's not like Shane Steichen's going to be going anywhere because Shane Steichen is the head coach.
I'm going to say 7.5, short-term and long-term. I think they're going to be better this year than expected. I think that there's an organizational fatigue that finally has been washed out of the building with the termination of the revolving door of veteran quarterbacks acquired 1 year too late. I think it affects your entire team. I think it drags down your offensive line. It drags down your defense. You just feel like you're limping to some finish line that is unattainable, that we're never going to quite make it, that everything's going to fall apart before we get to our goal, whatever our goal may be. I think this energizes the franchise. Jonathan Taylor, prime example of how the NFL is an out-of-sight, out-of-mind type of an endeavor. If you're playing great and you're in the highlights every week and we see you and you're the man, you get injured, you fall off, somebody else is the man. So that's the man we're paying attention to. And hey, Jonathan Taylor, get back to us when you're healthy and productive again. Oh, he will be this year. And you have him to balance out the passing game. They've got some receivers they really like. They haven't had good enough quarterbacks to get the most out of them. I just think if we're going to talk about setup, if Anthony Richardson can fulfill his potential, if they can coach him along the way to his ceiling quickly, they could be pretty good. And he's going to elevate everyone around him. It's a fascinating experiment. And again, it's not my job riding on it if it fails for Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen, but it's a fascinating experiment because if it works, the sky really is the limit.
Yeah, certainly. And that's what I'm saying. If you are a young quarterback in this league, what better place to go to than a place that has Shane Steichen when you know what he has done in recent history? So if for no other reason, then yeah, Anthony Richardson is set up for long-term success there.
All right, the Carolina Panthers, who selected Bryce Young first overall 2 weeks ago tonight. How much is Young set up for success in Carolina? Scale of 1 to 10.
I would say 8 because in large part of the coaching staff that has been assembled to help a young quarterback. When you have Frank Reich as your head coach and your offensive play caller, Thomas Brown, who's coming from Los Angeles, he's got a really good young offensive mind. And Frank Reich has said, yeah, at some point, probably going to pass off play calling duties to him. Josh McCown, he's not going to be a head coach to start off. He's going to be a quarterback's coach. And maybe he ends up as a head coach somewhere soon, but played the position for a really long time, was a really good backup quarterback, has mentored young QBs before. That's a great situation to be in for Bryce Young. And then you also have Jim Caldwell on that staff who has done so much in terms of elevating offenses, bringing up young QBs, making sure that guys know offense. He has a great coaching staff to make sure that he is going to meet his potential. Now, talk about weapons on the field. I mean, Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, it's not like Christian McCaffrey and Greg Olsen are walking through that door. I don't know. Miles Sanders, Hayden Hurst, they added pieces that are going to make you better. But I don't know if that really is an elite supporting cast. It's not what I would call it. But, I mean, as much as we kind of talk about Atlanta, I really think that the Panthers, because of their defense, could be in a position to win the NFC South if all goes well. And it all doesn't have to go that well when you have somebody as talented as Bryce Young and the kind of coaching that he's going to have around him.
I agree with you. I think you said 8, right? Did you say 8?
Yeah, I did say 8. Yes.
I'll say 8 as well. I'll copy your 8. I don't have to pick a different number, so we have 2 separate assessments. Okay. Great defense. The money that's been invested in the coaching staff. And I'm going to choose to believe in the faith that the Panthers have in Bryce Young to keep himself healthy and to compensate for his height, the brain power, the 5-man slide that we talked about earlier this week that Peter King had detailed in Football Morning in America, where it was an obscure play in a 48-17 game where Alabama was thrashing Tennessee when Bryce Young was a true freshman. He was in there mopping up. It was an uneventful play, a 12-yard throw to John Mechie. But pre-snap, he saw what he needed to do. He calmly did it. That's the kind of awareness that you need to have if you're going to succeed despite being 5'10 and 1/8 and 100 and whatever pounds. It sure isn't going to be 204. Get rid of the ball. Be smart. Manipulate the defense, avoid the hits, keep going, and I think it's going to work for the Panthers. I'm still excited by Bijan Robinson in Atlanta and what that can become, given that they've been 7-10 each of the last 2 years, but the Panthers have a very good defense, and Young seems like he gets it. He's going to figure it out. He's going to come in, and the teammates are going to love him. They're going to follow him, and he's going to be the guy that they hope he can be, assuming he can go out there and perform against NFL caliber defenses. One more, I believe, maybe 2 more. How about, I mentioned Atlanta, Desmond Ridder, Falcons quarterback entering his second season. Scale of 1 to 10, how much is he set up for success, Miles?
I'm going to go with 8.5 because I don't really want to say 9 because I don't necessarily think that that's fair because he's only been in the league for 1 year. But if you look at what they've got, right? Bijan Robinson, as you mentioned, you got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts. There are guys that can really play, and you have an offensive mind in the head coach in Arthur Smith who also knows how to get the most out of guys, and they're going to run the hell out of the football. That's just what they want to do. I think about that game against the Browns last year where they were basically just like, yeah, we're just going to run it, and because the Browns can't stop us, and we're just going to keep doing that. And that's how I think that offensive philosophy is going to work well. So if Desmond Ridder can be the kind of point guard that I guess we were really just talking about with Bryce Young, right? And all he does is get the ball out quickly, get the ball to his guys that can really create things happen, create and make things happen in space, easy for me to say, then he's going to be all right. So I think that because he's been in the league for a year, he got 4 starts of experience last year, Desmond Ridder is set up for success this year, and there won't be many excuses if he is unsuccessful.
And that's the key. What's around him? What's the table look like? The table looks pretty damn good in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Now, how is he going to arrive? What's he going to be wearing? Is he going to use the right utensils? Is he going to live up to the meal that's being set for him? Really, that's the key. And it is all on him. If they fail this year, what's going to change next year? If they fail this year,
quarterback.
They're going to have a new quarterback next year. And they're going to be able to attract any quarterback out there with options. That's for damn sure when you look at all the weapons they have in Atlanta. So it's all on Desmond Ridder. So 8.5. I'll see your 8.5, and I'll raise you to 9. The table is set for him to come in and have a big year and take the Falcons to the playoffs. 7-10 each of the last 2 seasons. Quietly, they've been overlooked. I think if Bijan Robinson comes close to doing what I think he's going to do in the NFL, then the Falcons, if they fail, it's going to be all because of their quarterback. All right, last one. Most overlooked and forgotten as it relates to young quarterback, Sam Howell. We know the Commanders are all in. Year 2. Guy would have been first-round pick a couple of years ago, so they say. The odds as of 2 years ago, going into the 2022 draft, was he was going to be one of the top picks. He fell to round 5. They think they have something. How much is he set up for success in Washington, scale of 1 to 10?
5. I mean, Eric Bieniemy, I think, obviously is a very good offensive coach, and bringing him in is going to make them better than they would be otherwise. But I don't know. I mean, they have good players, man. They really do on offense. But there's a reason why he fell to the 5th round, right? And when you are a 5th round pick, it's hard to be set up for success. And I just think there's still stuff going on with that franchise. And yeah, they're about to get sold, but it is what it is. But I'm not as high on that situation as I am on some of these others, Mike.
I'll say 6.5. And look, I think they're very happy with what they have in Eric Bieniemy. They think they have somebody who's going to transform that offense. And, they've got – it's one of those things where you individually, you start looking at players and it's like, this guy's pretty good and this guy's pretty good. But why aren't they better? And, hey, they were competitive last year. They were in it. It was working. And, you get some injuries. You get, a good call here, bad call there, turnover here, turnover there, close game goes the wrong way,
Carson
and the next
Wentz.
thing you know, it's over. So exactly. So it's in a good position for Sam Howell to fulfill the potential that had people thinking as of 2 years ago he was going to be one of the top picks in the draft. It was him and Spencer Rattler, who was actually still in college at South Carolina. He was entering what would have been his final year at Oklahoma, and it all fell apart for him there. But, times change quickly. But Sam Howell was regarded as having a ton of potential 2 years ago, and now he gets his opportunity. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.